Sure, comparing apples to oranges is kinda stupid, but which one is better? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're pitting two of 2017's biggest sandbox games against each other. PlayStation's Horizon Zero Dawn versus Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
So, you're finally awake.
For this versus battle, we'll be judging our contenders on features they both have been praised for upon their release and deciding which one is the superior open-world game. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. Round 1, Story.
I'm here, and wherever you go, I will follow.
In Horizon Zero Dawn, players control a young woman named Aloy after a massacre of her fellow tribesmen during her rite of passage to join the tribe. Aloy sets out to track down the killers and eradicate the threat of cybernetic beasts. While it gets off to a slow start, Horizon takes players through a compelling narrative with intricate details that add to the world and lore. Aloy is an incredibly well fleshed out character with clear motivations, which makes it really easy to immerse ourselves in the story. With a few more twists along the way, as well as a satisfying ending, Horizon left us wanting more from developer Guerrilla Games.
You said War Chief Sona is missing?
Even when the war party was massacred, she wouldn't give up the chase.
Now, Breath of the Wild is a more interesting case when it comes to its story. Producer Eiji Aonuma stated that players can reach the end of the game without touching any of the main story. Players who do touch that story, however, will come across some familiar faces along the way. There are also enough details in the story for players to piece together what has happened in Hyrule. What Breath of the Wild suffers from is its heavy reliance on using flashbacks to tell its story, especially when explaining character relationships. It shifts the focus from the present adventure to Link's stroll down memory lane, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it isn't as interesting as what's happening here and now. Plus, spoiler alert, the ending felt a bit underwhelming.
Thank you, Link.
Both games have memorable characters and moments, but when it comes to storytelling, Breath of the Wild relies on flashbacks too frequently. Horizon, on the other hand, has more meat to its narrative bones, even if it does start kinda slow. Winner, Horizon.
Aloy!
Round 2, Gameplay. The focus on ranged combat in Horizon Zero Dawn makes hunting machines engaging and tense, as enemy behavior is what keeps the combat engaging in the first place. Players can choose to play aggressively and attack head-on, or pick off enemies one by one while remaining undetected. You can also equip weapons with mods to enhance effects, making your arsenal all the deadlier. Melee combat, on the other hand, feels a little underdeveloped. Don't get us wrong, we love the different options in terms of ranged weaponry, but unfortunately the whole package is just not as in-depth as it could have been. While Horizon nails ranged combat, what Breath of the Wild has is variety. You've got swords, bows, axes, spears, claymores. In other words, there are playstyles aplenty, with the ability to quickly switch weapons in the middle of combat. Like Horizon, weapons also provide elemental effects to give you advantages in certain battles. Breath of the Wild also has a great physics engine, which you can use to great effect in combat with the rune abilities you get at the start of the game. Cutting down trees to use as bridges or dropping crates on enemies' heads has never been so much fun. This round was pretty tough to call, but in the end, the point goes to Breath of the Wild. Horizon may have suspenseful ranged combat, but the melee combat is pretty lackluster. Despite the annoying weapon degradation, and we do have to say that it is frickin' annoying, we'd still happily choose a large selection of weapons and attack styles over a heavy reliance on ranged combat. Winner, Breath of the Wild.
I do suppose you've proven your value as a warrior worthy of my unique ability.
Round 3, Graphics.
To us, were left the splendors of creation.
For Horizon, developer Guerrilla Games have successfully created one of the most beautiful games to grace the PS4. While utilizing various texture filters, Guerrilla's game engine, Decima, has helped the team develop richly detailed environments. Every camera shot, whether in cinematics or during gameplay, is breathtaking to look at. The game looks absolutely amazing even on the standard version of the PS4, but should you see it running on a PS4 Pro in 4K, albeit at 30 frames per second, it is just an astounding graphical achievement for home consoles.
Where's this from?
As one of the first games to launch on the Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild served as a great showcase for the console's power in visuals and draw distance. The game itself also displays some of the most beautiful cell shading we've seen in a Zelda game. Don't be surprised if you catch yourself admiring and taking in the view of the land. However, Breath of the Wild suffers from the odd frame rate issues, which is a shame really, considering how immersive and beautiful the world is, cause a sudden dips in frames per second can cut you right out of the experience. Nintendo has since released patches that fix these dips in the more intense areas, but at time of writing, some infamous areas like the Lost Woods still have very distracting drops.
Who is that? Did I doze off again?
Both games look spectacular and have moments and landmarks that make you want to stop killing things and just admire the scenery. The point still goes to Horizon though, because of its stellar visuals and consistent frame rate. Had Breath of the Wild spent more time cooking in development, or been on a more powerful console, this might have gone a different way. But for now, winner, Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'm glad you came.
You're glad. Why?
Call it a shared interest.
Round 4, Dungeons.
Finish the job.
The Legend of Zelda has made dungeons the bread and butter of the franchise. Breath of the Wild makes things a bit more interesting. While you'll frequently come across shrines, which act as mini dungeons, the most exciting dungeons come in the form of the Divine Beasts. Each Divine Beast serves as the equivalent to a boss fight with their own unique puzzles and fights. Once defeated, Link can explore inside these Divine Beasts and interact with their mechanical parts to solve more difficult puzzles. They're tough, they're challenging, but damn, it is so rewarding when you find the solution and head into the final boss fight with a Blight Ganon. Not to be out-Zelda'd by Zelda, Horizon Zero Dawn presents its own take on dungeons called the Cauldrons. These locations contain hordes of enemies to fight, data entries and collectibles, and more importantly, recovering overrides allows Aloy to reprogram a machine to fight her, which is perfect for when you stumble across tougher enemies. However, what the Cauldrons lack is diversity. Cauldrons all require heavy exploration, some platforming, and of course combat. While there may be a few puzzles scattered in between, they don't give you a huge amount of satisfaction when you complete them.
That thing looks like a triangular pipe. What's it for?
Again, it wasn't easy to decide the winner of this round. What keeps Horizon from taking the victory is how Breath of the Wild implements interactivity and changes up the formula with the Divine Beasts. It's creative, and the difficulty is what makes them so satisfying when you finish them. Winner, Breath of the Wild. Round 5, World.
We are outcasts.
You by choice, and she, well... I am a high matriarch, Rost. I bless whom I choose.
Then you honor us.
The world of Horizon Zero Dawn feels alive as you explore the lands. You'll not only experience typical day-night cycles in different climates and weather, but it's interesting to see NPCs interacting with the environment in their own ways. Herds of grazers will tear up grass and fields, watchers will inspect bushes and rocks, and if you're lucky, you might see fights break out between some of the more menacing machines. It all makes the world feel really organic, no pun intended. Plus, as you're exploring, you'll occasionally come across ancient ruins and a data entry or two that expands upon what that ruin was before it was decimated, adding another layer of environmental storytelling to the game.
Hold for identiscan.
The goddess speaks.
Just like the woman I saw.
If you're looking for a game world with exceptional interactivity, look no further than Breath of the Wild. Almost everything in this world is dynamic in more ways than one. The sheer number of things you can do with and to the environment is simply groundbreaking, and at times it can feel like the world itself is one big puzzle. It really feels like the world was handcrafted to the finest detail as well, considering how many vantage points the player can find, not only for the view, but also to chart their course. In addition, Breath of the Wild's weather system can affect your actions while you're fighting or exploring. Some can be advantageous, while others will prove to be less than helpful. While Horizon's world is beautiful to admire, Breath of the Wild's world is a game changer for open world games as a whole, not only for how much the player can interact with the environment, but also the way in which it encourages players to explore at their own volition, rather than guiding them using waypoints. Winner, Breath of the Wild.
And that will make this victory all the more satisfying.
The PlayStation brand may have found its next big property in Horizon Zero Dawn, but Nintendo has won us over with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, revitalizing its own franchise and open world games in ways that we could have never anticipated. Zelda takes it with a final score of 3-2.
I'm surprised to admit it, but I can accept that.
Do you agree with our verdict? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.